Before we sing our hymn, Reverend Don Boren is going to come and give us some advice, answers, something. If it is as good as your sermon, it will be great.
Well, I'm not sure about advice or answers, but I'm going to give you some information. And so do want to kind of fill you in two different kind of categories. One is this interim season that we're in. As you know, I've been working with the small council both last year and this year on leadership needs for clergy. We hired a consultant. You all hired a consultant by the name of Jim Griffith. And Jim helped us to move to a process where we felt like it was time for Kevin to still be appointed here, but to step aside and take some sabbatical time for himself and not to be engaged in ministry here at the church. And so during this season, you all have stepped up and begun to work and take care of things. But also we did have looked at what clergy needs there are for this congregation in this interim period. And I do want to say that I have been very impressed with the lay leadership that I have seen at this church as the small council and others have stepped up to really take care of things administratively. You've got a great handle on your finances now. You've got a good handle, a shift with staff and being able to kind of right size your personnel for the size of church that you're in. But I've just been really impressed with what I've seen with the lay leadership in this church. But as we've been looking at what to do during the interim period with a clergy person, one of the first things we always look at is to see what available personnel there are, and sometimes we bring someone from the outside into a church to be able to serve the church during that time. As I got to looking at available personnel outside and available personnel inside the church, I quickly came to the realization that you have the pastoral clergy in place already to be able to handle what you all need. And so what I mean by that is that you have folks that have made themselves available, are very good clergy, and will be able to work with you through the period. And so the kind of point clergy person will be Archie Eccles. And so in working with the small council, we kind of tossed around some ideas, and that's what came out of that discussion. And so Archie is one of my pastors already, serving as a retired supply at two little churches up in the northern part of my district. But he will be preaching here twice a month, and then we will have a rotation of other clergy to fill in for those other Sundays. Archie will also be the lead person for pastoral care, but we do have others that have offered to step into some of those places. And so Bobby McMillan, of course, will be available to you. Ken Peterson, Ken, raise your hand just in case there's some who don't know you. Maddock Thomas, where's Maddock? Back there. Have all offered to help with pastoral care as well. So, and Don Holliday as needed. So we just feel that with the strong lay leadership, with the clergy already available to you, that this would be the best way for this church to go. We want you to know that you're an important church and that we care about you and that this is important to us. And if I had felt like that we needed to really go try to find someone outside to make this work, we would have done that. But I just didn't see anything better on the outside than what I've seen on the inside. And also you have a great clergy person who has been with you for many years, and so that continuity through Ann will stay in place. One of the things we're being real cautious of, because she's got full-time practice outside of her ministry here, is not to place more on her than what she needs. And you know Ann, she will say yes if you ask, and so please don't ask a lot. realize that there is plenty to share the love. So please make use of your other clergy. And then shifting gears to looking for your next new pastor, who we anticipate to be appointed here officially July 1, but we'll usually start the Sunday before that in June, that we have begun the process. And so the process that we've begun so far is that every year I do a consultation process with the clergy of the district, but also then with churches that we know that there's likely going to be a change. I've heard through my year and a half of working with small council and your SPRC both last year and this past year, I should say 2020 and 2021, that have had good insights from them, but also part of Jim Griffith, the consultant that we hired, is going to provide a pastor profile from his discussions with members of the church as well as leadership. And so we'll have that. I'll have my insight that I'll bring. And then also, just so you know, as was mentioned at the beginning of the service by Ann, is we have a new interim bishop. So it's not just the church that's an interim, it's also our conference that's an interim, because we have a bishop that is supplying us until there's a new bishop elected. So the conference is kind of waiting like you all are, but we do have an interim bishop, and his name is Jimmy Nunn. And he actually grew up at Abernathy, and he and Clint were a year apart. Clint was younger. He wanted to make sure that was known. but they grew up at Abernathy, and so Bishop Nunn has been a pastor in the Lubbock area, has known St. John's for many years. He was your district superintendent, I think, for about 5 years. So he knows St. John's. But he also has been making appointments as bishop in the Oklahoma Conference. And without getting into a lot of details on things, but he has progressive pastors and progressive churches in Oklahoma, and he has been making appointments to them, so he is not new to being able to do this with you all. The other thing that we have is we have a group of available pastors within our conference, but also we can access the New Mexico Conference, we can access the Oklahoma Conference, and even beyond to the jurisdiction if needed. But as we talked in Cabinet last week as we met, we feel like we've got some really good candidates right here within our own conference. And so I'm very hopeful for your new pastor. And we will look at a broader spectrum just to see who's out there, because we want the best available pastor for you. But we want someone not just to come in and fill a space or to be a warm body here. We want somebody who's going to come in and help you all move to the next place. And so that's what our desire is. The thing that you can do to help out in the process is to be in prayer. To be in prayer for your church, to be in prayer for the new pastor and family, if they have family, who will be coming here, and to be in prayer for the process. We'll be meeting through the spring. We've already talked about your church and have some good ideas, and we'll have more ideas, and we'll work through that. And Lindsay Soberhard is your SPRC chair. And so she, if you have any last minute suggestions for her, you can visit with her and she can convey those to me. I'll also be around a little bit after the service, that if you have any questions or have advice or answers for me, I would love to hear that as well. So I'll be around after the service for a few minutes. But you do have good people in place working for you. You've got Marie, who is your church council chair. You have Kyle on staff, who has been dealing with a lot of the workload. You have Lindsay, you have Sarah Knuckles, You have Nick and a bunch of others that are doing great things for you. So just take advantage of me while I'm here today if you need to bend my ear for a minute, but also know that you have great lay folks that I'm in constant contact with that will be representing you. So anyway, just know that you matter, that you're important, and that we will be working hard to get you the best pastor available. Thank you.
Don, thank you so much for that.
I mentioned this in the early service, but it just slipped my mind. We know that there are some things that are unique about St. John's, and we will not be sending you a pastor. I just want to dispel any rumors that might be out there that we will not be sending you a pastor to try to change you or do something different. We will be sending you a pastor that will align with your ideology, your theology, and your stances. So appreciate that.